welcome to the Holy Hour podcast. It's the bi-weekly All Cure podcast. I'm Gavin, and tonight I am joined by our buddy Kate from CureThreads.com, and we are super excited to talk some serious art over here. We've got a fella that has killer album covers that he's made, movie posters, gig posters, and has recently won the hearts of all Cure fans all across America with his New Orleans gig poster that we're all freaking out about, and kicked off the Shows for a Lost World North American leg tour on May 10th. Yes, tonight we welcome artist, illustrator, printmaker, graphic designer, Vance Kelly. Hello and welcome to the Holy Hour.
Thank you. Thank you for inviting me to come on the show. It's exciting. So
yeah, yeah. Everyone's freaking out about these specific city posters, and you got the honor of kicking the whole thing off. And I don't know if you noticed how much everybody in the Cure community is really launched into this and really loving it, and yours was the perfect way to start it off with the New Orleans posters. Man,
I appreciate it. I was really surprised. Actually, I didn't know till pretty late in the game that they were actually starting the tour here.
Oh yeah.
And so I was just like, so that was amazing. So it was a really great opportunity, and do some artwork for a band that you really love, and in my hometown. So all the stars aligned. It was pretty rad.
Yeah, it is cool. Yeah, and I guess just to put in at the top there, just turns out you're legit love the Cure too, right? Legit fan and everything.
A long time now.
Awesome. So. Yeah, that's a pretty cool coincidence. We were joking before we had started. Kate and I were like, man, how cool is that too? Like, imagine if you get stuck with some band, you're just kind of like, but you gotta make their cool poster. It's got to be a bit of a struggle. So, is it harder or easier if you really like the band?
Oh man, sometimes it's harder because you put a lot of pressure on yourself, and you want to do something that there's a good representation of the band, the show, and something that the fans hopefully like or whatever, and something that means something to you, to them, to the band. Actually, there's a lot more pressure than I thought. Yeah, so I've been doing this for a while, so kind of tamper it down when I get in there.
Yeah, so. That's cool. And they, it seems like they're a huge success. It seems to be with a lot of Cure tours, when they start out, there's always this surprise factor of some extra things you can get excited about, and that you didn't expect. Everyone knows that they're going to go into it and love the songs and what songs they're going to play. But then Cure seems really great at having these little nuggets of things that just get you extra pumped up too, and everyone's really excited on these, and it seems like they're selling great, and they're making second runs of all the posters, and now they've kind of kicked in where they're putting them on the merch and everything too. So
that was really surprising. I wanted to do something I love, but man, just to see a lot of the other fans that was showing a lot of love for it's been amazing. That's just the cherry on top. I mean, that's I don't know, man. It's I've been such a fan of the band for so long, and then to actually have be able to do something that speaks to other fans, and hopefully it gives them something to remember the show by, or it gives them it's another added memory to the night that they get to go and see Robert and the band play. This means the world.
Awesome, so cool to hear.
That's cool. Cure fans are cool in general. We're all a loving group. But much love for any other person that expresses love for the Cure is a good thing.
Yeah, it's you can never go too wrong with a Cure fan, right? It's everything still lines up on some level. We're all there.
Well, most of my friends are Cure fans as well. It's everyone I know in my circle. I don't think there's anybody who doesn't like the Cure. That I know personally, except for maybe some older people or some younger people who haven't quite got into them yet or something.
Yeah, it's true. I've always had it in the back of my head for an episode where I just want to get the official Cure basher on, and the one person that would go on the record. And, nobody will ever, maybe just nobody I hang out with or anything. I can't really find it. Except a lot of people are just I'm a little indifferent, but I don't have anything against them either. I'm come on, man. No,
if you find that guy, he's going to have to wear a mask. You have to distort his voice, whatever, so he doesn't get doxxed or anything.
I think so. Yeah, they're just.
Yeah, I could ask my mom. If
you want. That's right. Sounds good.
Well, actually, my mom likes him. I don't think my dad really got into him. Cared for him or not.
Yeah,
And
my mom hates Robert Smith.
oh, wow. We'll book them, have them on. Yeah.
Right? There you go.
Yeah.
Well, we definitely want to get into your whole story and your process of doing this poster in particular too. But yeah, so I guess a good place to start. You want to kick it off, Kate?
My questions are going to be coming from me as an artist who has actually, when I was in high school, this doing a cure poster would have been like, if you asked me then, this would have been the penultimate job. So when I saw all these artists got commissioned to do this, I was like, how did that happen?
Oh man, no, definitely have to go back in time and talk to my high school self. I would have freaked out a lot. So, but there's a gallery I work with a bit, and there's 2 or 3 people I work with: Secret Serpents, Lady Lazarus, and Collections. And 2 of our print houses, Secret Serpents, they do a bit, but I know them and Lady Lazarus have been working with the bands, printing their posters for years and years and years. And they will curate a tour. So I've been asked from them before to do shows. And so this time Collections had the show, and they reached out. I'd worked with them before on some other posters, and they asked if I wanted to do a Cure poster. I'm like, sure. And they're like, well, they're starting the tour in New Orleans, your hometown. Do you want to do the first date? I'm like, whoa, I didn't realize they were actually kicking the tour off here. So I'm like, of course. So so I had some ideas I threw down, sketched, and then I just kind of went over my head, which I thought was better, and then submitted to them. But I didn't talk to anyone in the band or the management, but he had a direct line to him, and so he would forward me, like cut and paste, like what comments were from the band and whether or not if they were going to prove the concept or not. So after I sent it off, and I was pretty happy with this design compared to the other sketches. Uh-huh. And so I did a bit more finishing to it and sent it off, and they approved it right away with very little changes.
That's awesome. That's gotta feel so good too, just on that level too, of like the Cure and their team or whoever, was all like, approving it all the way. It wasn't just like something that they're like, cool, and they'll see it when they see it. But so yeah, that's good.
I had no idea he was that hands-on. I know some bands I work with, they're like super hands-on, and like when you submit the artwork, it's going to them. Right. And then I have other bands I work with, you don't know who it's going to or who's going to see it, who ultimately approved it. Right. And so, but when the band or the director or whoever is actually involved and has a hand, that's always a plus. And that's probably one of the coolest things they get to do is get some sort of response from them about something I did for them. And so that's crazy. Yeah. So.
Pretty
awesome. Were any of the comments that were forwarded in all caps?
Yeah.
No, not at all. And they didn't have any and it didn't sound like British or English, there's no accent to them or anything. So I couldn't quite tell. So I'm like, I'm assuming, but no, they just said, Robert likes this idea. I had a spider in there originally, and they asked to take the spider out. So I was like, okay. So that was out.
Yeah, fair enough.
But it was actually really one of the easier gigs I've ever had, as far as like no muss, no fuss. Yeah. And like I don't know what I was expecting, but it was really nice. It was straightforward. And then I had some stuff I've worked on in the past where, you send off the sketch, then there's revisions, then there's more revisions, and you revise those revisions, and then it goes on and it can take quite a while to get there. Yeah. And it's usually nobody's fault. So sometimes, the artist's vision and the whoever's contracting art or whoever's asking for it doesn't quite align right at the beginning, and so you have to work a little harder to get there. Yeah. And I've been doing this for a long time, and I just know some jobs are like that, and it's kind of that's kind of ingrained. That's why I actually work all digitally. Right. I can imagine I remember reading horror stories about Drew Struzan's a poster artist that I dearly love. And he would send stuff off and to the presses, him and Bob Peak and all these great artists. And the oil paints or whatever they use will still be wet when they're sending them off. And I couldn't imagine having that come back and having revisions on something you spent 80 hours painting. Yeah, so technology is pretty good in this point.
Yeah, that works these nice. Days.
Helps.
When you say you've been doing this a long time, so how many years have you been doing it?
I started in the late '90s doing gig posters. I had a friend in New Orleans. I moved here in like 92, and a friend of mine was silk screening posters. And at that time, I had just heard about Coop and Kozik, and they were like two of like the forefathers of the resurgence of silk screening. Of course, you had Malice and all the other people in the '60s that were doing it in San Francisco, but there was a resurgence, coming toward the late '90s. And so I'd go to shows here in New Orleans, whatever, and there would be a Coop poster, silk screen printed or whatever, or like, Throw Kill Cold or something like that, or Ministry or something like that. And so a friend of mine, he was an artist as well. And we were at some show, and he comes in and he's got an armful of posters and he's tacking them up. And I'm like, dude, well, I didn't know you did posters. So he's, yeah, silk screen is out of my garage. I'm like, get out of here.
Wow.
And I'm like, man, you gotta show me how to do this. He's like, I don't know. He's like, let me see your artwork. And so like he knew I drew, but it was like the next night we met up, whatever, and I showed him some work, and like we were pretty good friends. And then but my first real silk screen poster was for My Life with the Throat Cold.
Okay.
And so I did the artwork, and he helped me silk screen it, and he had showed me Photoshop, and I had a roommate at the time. And like at that point, I was just like, oh man, it's Photoshop. That's not real artwork. There's no soul to it. It's a machine, blah blah blah. And then those two guys showed me back and forth. My roommate and my friend Alan showed me what you could do with Photoshop. And I was like, wait, you can do that? They're like, yeah, we're trying to tell you, man. I'm like, oh shit. All right. So I started doing posters on the side for shows and stuff that came in. And then I had day jobs. And then I started having some decent sized gigs like in the early 2000s. And then I had a day job up until, I guess it's been like 10 or 11 years now.
Cool.
No, longer, a little bit longer. And then, so I've been doing this for, on my own for quite a while. So this is my sole income, doing artwork. So that's actually my cue to tell anyone who's ever bought a poster, an album, a T-shirt, anything that I've ever done. I appreciate it. Thank you. And this has been a dream.
Congratulations! Like that's just really. It can be really hard to get to that point for a lot of people where your income comes from doing the art, and I don't know if you feel this way, but sometimes it can be hard to balance, like, do I enjoy this as much because I'm doing it for money as opposed to if I were doing it on my own? Do you have a side version of art that you do that's just for yourself?
I do. There's certain things like I keep my actually these days it's been fantastic. For the first 4 or 5 years, I would take any job anybody threw at me because this is my sole income. You didn't want to turn anything away. Right. And you're just like, all right, well, you want me to design a logo for your AC company? You got it. I'm here for you. Or you want me to draw your sister's cousin's aunt's birthday card? You got it. And so, and then eventually, you keep plugging away. And then I was fortunate doing the gig posters that took off, and a lot of other people like the old school guys like Kim Taylor, Reese Cooper, a thousand other people I'm not naming right now, Brian Ewing, like all those guys were doing gig posters the same time I was. And then there was a little shop in Austin, Texas that had a theater, and they found a loophole that if they were showing a film, they could commission an artist to do a poster for that film. And then the alternative film poster scene has kind of blown up, and a lot of the gig poster guys moved from there, from doing gig posters to film posters and still that. And I still do both. And that was actually probably one of the cool things that ever happened. So there's been like a resurgence of posters for quite some time, and it seems like the gig posters are getting another resurgence now. Like for people to curate a special poster for each show of the tour, that's almost unheard of. Like I remember like seeing like a couple of venues here and there, but there wasn't a show or wasn't a poster for every date, from a different artist. So that's just wild and awesome.
Yeah,
totally dig. No, I love the movie posters you've done on your website and stuff too. Are really cool too. Checking those out. And that's why I wasn't really sure like why you're making those. So it'd be for that theater, and they would do like showings of the movies, and you could create a new poster for it then. Or?
That's how it got started. But now there's several galleries like Bottleneck, Mondo, and a couple other people. Yeah.
Okay.
And so they've gotten the attention of the movie industry.
Okay.
And so a lot of the movie industry people came back and contacted. So like I've been asked to do a bunch of projects I would have never in a million years thought I was going to be able to do.
Yeah.
So some of the posters are licensed posters. So a lot of the movie houses will license the artwork to these print houses and galleries that specialize in silkscreen and say, okay, you know, for a license, like all the stuff we do with Lucasfilm, like there's a Star Wars license for printed material. And so like getting to do those are awesome because they're actually officially licensed. They actually go through Lucasfilm. They have like an army of people. Now talk about a job where there's scrutiny about what you're doing, whatever, you want to build a bet smash, right? So the gig posters, you were asking earlier if there's kind of like an artwork I kind of do more for myself. And I find gig posters, I get to do a lot of my personal artwork with gig posters because one, I love the band. I'm really inspired by music. And I think, you know, like I do a lot of stuff for Mastodon right now. I'm not sure if there's Cure and Mastodon fans out there, but I love working with those guys because, you know, like the music's awesome. And then also I get to draw something that I'm fluent that, you know, so there's no rigorous process of like, okay, this is what we need. This is how we do it, whatever. And it's going to go in this format with these colors. It's more freedom and I get to express myself more. So gig posters are my prep projects where I get to do that.
Yeah, that's cool. Yeah, we were going to ask too, like with the Cure one or just in general even, do you get a lot of like instructions or how much freedom do the bands tend to give you? Does it vary a lot? Like
it does. Some of the more established bands, like bigger bands, like Guns N' Roses and a few other people. And there's actually, I usually work with older bands, believe it or not. Like, you know, they've been around for a while. There's like it's like them, like say Kiss or somebody bigger than somebody's established, whatever. They get like a ground rules, like, okay, we don't want this, we don't want this, and we don't want this. We've had our shows forever, and we know what our fans don't like. And so, and it's usually like a do not list, whatever, and then you create kind of whatever you want. But like, so like if you're doing a Kiss poster, though, you kind of want to draw the guys in Kiss,
right?
But like, you know, like if you're doing like a band, like something for Cure, you get to be more cerebral. So like, you know, like as much as I love drawing Robert, you know, like I wanted to draw something that had a little bit more emotion to it, or like kind of brought up memories from like when I was listening to Cure early on and stuff like that. So
yeah, it's been really cool seeing how they, you know, did the different artists for each one and stuff, and just seeing how they compare and stuff. Have you been able to check out some of the other ones? And
I have. There's a couple that haven't been released yet. There's actually I have several friends that did some of these posters.
Oh, cool.
Oliver Baird, I know. I met him before. Brian Ewing did one. I have Luke Priest did one. He's a buddy of mine from England.
Okay.
And then I'm trying to figure out who did this Toronto one because I don't even think the show's happening yet, but I saw the poster was out there, and that one's like the design and like the layout of that one's really interesting.
Cool.
And then yeah, there's some good stuff in there.
Yeah, that's what I love.
And like it's so weird like to see like other people's visions of like what they had, like, you know, like kind of like where they were going to go with it. And so
yeah, for sure, because sometimes they're just going full on Robert, you know, and everything, and then you see the ones. That's what I really love about yours, is that it really doesn't seem like it like a very like Cure specific, but it fits perfectly somehow, you know. And it's like, wow, that's got to be so challenging to do, because it's, you know, I was even wondering how tempting it was to put in little things, you know, like, you know.
If I would have had a bit more time, yes, I would have put a lot more Easter eggs in there and stuff in there. Like, you know, the turnaround was pretty quick on this one, but it was an image that, I don't know, like my wife and I do like Cure fans, and like we used to stuff back in the day or whatever. And like, you know, like our friends, like, you know, who weren't goth, we had like goth friends, and we had our friends that were a little bit more into like industrial. And, you know, like, all right, you bunch of shoegazers. And then, like, you know, like, I had friends that were punk. And, like when I grew up listening to The Cure, it was when I was, I guess I was in junior high out in California. That was the first time I heard them. And then, you know, they've just been a soundtrack to part of my life, no matter where I've moved in the States or where I've been. And to even though it's melancholy, like it always just brought, not everything's melancholy from the Cure, but it always brought, like, if I was going through something, whatever, like I had just moved to a new town and like I didn't have any friends yet or anything. And, I was like the only kid wearing black and had like a funny haircut, wherever it was. It just felt like, if I would listen to the Cure, I felt like I had somebody who understood me, and or like, or like I had gone in a similar path in life the same way, or their music just was soothing, like.
Yeah, that's something we always come back to on the show here. It's just crazy that they're like the most reliable friend, that's always been there in a sense, when you're at your highest and lowest, you can always count on them to have your back and stuff like that, as tacky as it sounds, but it's
absolutely. No, I mean, like I've had some really great moments and they were there, and had some really crappy moments and they were there, at least their music was there. So
so, that's great.
Yeah. You used the word, did you say cerebral when you were talking about what you wanted to do?
Yeah, I wanted to portray more.
Like you did it, which I can't say that about all of them. Like, but you really did it.
I appreciate it. And
flowing. Yeah, it's really great. Just I mean, is there a specific model that this was based on? Dare we dig deep?
Actually, no, no, there isn't. There was a lot of thoughts in my head going through all their track lists in the song, of course, whatever. And like Robert sings a lot about the ladies and stuff, and and I don't know if they're his lady or a lady in his life he's singing about, or whatever, or maybe I don't know who he's singing about to me, but I don't know. There's like something about it, like when I listen to The Cure, and like when I think of whoever he's singing about, whatever, I always come back to like some vision in my head of like like a beautiful like female entity, and I don't know why. I guess it's my projections on a lot of their songs, or the songs that mean a lot to me. But it seems like it's hard to put his foot down. I think we need to call him and ask him. I was like, all right, what were you thinking? But I wanted to invoke something beautiful, something a bit melancholy, like if she's sad or she's dreaming, or she's lost in her mind, or lost, just I wanted something to kind of represent the way I feel when, or what I see in my head when I listen to the music.
Yeah.
And actually that encompasses a lot more than what that illustration ever could. What I could accomplish there, I'd take a million illustrations to do that, but that was just one portion of it.
It just shows, like in your line work and her expression, just the lipstick, like all the little, and then there seem like there are Easter eggs, and I'm guilty of this. So when it first surfaced online, and people are like, what does it mean? What does it mean? Everybody wants to know, like, why the rosaries? What's going on with the crown on her head, and is it Mary, his wife? And I started going down this like whole like super art nerd path of like, well, let's see, it's New Orleans and it's Jazz Week, and it kind of reminds me of like turn of the century Art Deco, or arts and crafts period, and the kind of colors that you would see in like a Maxfield Parrish painting, and so I'm like, I don't know, but I think I know. And so it's interesting to just hear that you just kind of went with an instinct rather than thought about it that much,
Sometimes that's the best way to start off. And then like as I got in there, there's some magnolias, and there's some other plant life to kind of represent home. And then, and New Orleans is a very green, lush place. So like, we have lots of vegetation. My plants are always happy because it rains all the time in the summer. And I wanted, I wanted to feel old, like my city. I wanted to, I'm a big Luca fan.
Yeah.
And,
that's who I was trying to think of. Yeah.
Yeah.
Love him.
And I love that movement. And Gustav Klimt, all those guys.
Yeah, that's right.
So I'm, and then there's 1,000 other names I'm forgetting, but I love that era of art. Yeah. And I love pen and ink line work. That was, I don't know. I've read tons and tons of comic books when I was a kid, and like I was practice inking for like days, and I still love the technique of inking. So even though I work digitally, whatever, I have like custom brushes that represent like different like brush weights and line weights and stuff. And then with the colors, I had to have gold, because there's a lot of gold in our city, and not to mention, if I don't mention the Saints, somebody in New Orleans will probably come knock down my door. So I had to have that representation. And then a lot of the Cure album covers too have a lot of red and blue in them, which is a really hard color palette to work with. And I'm like, okay, I'm gonna challenge myself here a little bit. I'm gonna see if I can make those colors work. And so I want to get really ethereal with the background. Like you'll see like it's not necessarily cells, but like it's like weird biology stuff going on, or it could be blood, who knows, with the red in the background. And then of course I wanted to do a nod, to Robert with a messy lipstick.
Yeah.
And then, but I actually really, really enjoy hearing other people's interpretation of artwork. And growing up, I was always one, I wanted to know what it meant. And I always wanted to talk to others to know what it meant. And then I remember some artist I had heard, I think he did like a TV interview or something, whatever. And he was talking about how important it is to give it to the audience and let them put their meaning into it, whatever. And then if you can do that, if you can give that gift to like, okay, not only does it mean something to you, this is for everyone. And I want it to mean something to them and what they're going to take away with it. And I find that with music a lot too. Like there's certain songs like, like the artist probably didn't even intend anything like that, but so many people, put that to the music, whatever, that's what it was about, or in their head, that's what they made from the lyric, or that's what they got from the lyrics, or how they interpreted it. To me, music is also like, it reminds me of a place and a time. And it's very like, and art does that too. And I know I have some artists who absolutely love the first album, and maybe the second or third album is like far, far superior. But to me, because where I was at in life or what I was doing and what that album meant to me, when I heard those songs, I still prefer that album. And technically it might not be better. It might not even be the artist's favorite track, whatever. Yeah. But it means something to me. And I think art should do that as well. It should evoke a memory or a thought or some place in time for you, or it should stir some sort of emotional response, I guess. And I was glad that the piece is successful enough, to give to the audience and let them find their own meanings in it.
Yeah, for sure. That's great. Because, everyone is. It's very Cure song-like, because we do that constantly on the podcast here where everyone's picking up their interpretations of a Cure song or something, and Robert's great at that where he, doesn't flat out say, because sometimes the storyteller thing's cool where if he just flat out says, it was this trip Mary and I took, we did this and we did this, and you're just like, whoa, okay, that's the whole story, but he never does that. It's always like just vague enough where you can identify it and mold it into whatever memory you have, and so that's awesome. It's a perfect fit for that.
Yeah, I love the mystique. I love when of course I'm like a sleuth, like a lot of people, like I like to dig in and try and find out as much as I can about something I like. Yeah. But the mystery, when the mystery is still there, it's great.
Yeah.
So.
Sure.
Yeah.
Yeah, I love the it's like stars in her hair too a bit, I see it that way where it's like it's kind of its own thing in itself too. That's a Cure song waiting to be written right there. Something about stars in her hair.
Get on it, guys.
Yeah. Another challenging thing it must have been, I just being a Cure nerd with their logos, of how hard it must be just to write the Cure and not have it be from a specific era or anything, and the logo or their name on this poster here is so cool that could be like a whole album's worth of logo. I think, it's you did a great job with that.
Thank you. And I'll actually pull the curtain back on that one because actually, that was one note I forgot that I did mention, because I was going to use the Cure logo from this particular tour. And I'm like, okay, because a lot of bands sometimes like, okay, no, this is the logo we're using in this area. Right. And they're very specific about that. And that hadn't been mentioned in the notes before I started on the piece. So I had that as a placeholder. And that was one request. I'm sorry. He actually, according to the message I got, Robert asked specifically that I do my own logo. And I was just like, okay, no pressure. I'm like, what am I gonna do? Yeah. And so like I must have did like 15 or whatever. So I was gonna do like some typeset and then create my own font. And then finally I just wound up painting with a brush on top of it. And so and I wanted it to go with all right, I'm gonna show my ignorance as an artist here. Either the negative or positive space of the leaves. Right on. I wanted the Cure logo to go with that, so it looks like they're falling or moving in the wind. I wanted some sort of movement with it. So
Yeah, it's perfect. You nailed it, man. That's so cool to hear. Because yeah, I would, you get so used to seeing it in all the different fonts throughout the albums throughout the years, and coming up with one. And I kind of see that on some of the other ones where I look at them like, oh, I love the art, but the logo just isn't quite there or something, like the name doesn't hit. But yeah, that could be a whole album's worth of logo right there. So,
Well, if they need it,
yeah.
let me know.
We don't know.
I feel like that's a huge compliment that was requested
Yeah.
because that meant like that existing logo didn't feel quite right, and he or they trusted you to come
Yeah.
because they liked what you did and they didn't want this logo superimposed over it. Whereas some other artists just used some sort of fonts that are related to old albums.
Yeah, which is weird. Yeah, looking at some of the other ones they have, and that's and we all nerd out it in that direction. We're like, why are they using the head on the door font for a current? Yeah, that kind of thing.
Actually, I just pulled up the other ones, and yes, they're. I guess they didn't get the same notes, but no, I did really. But what you said that was a huge honor, and that actually felt like for him to let an artist interpret their logo as well as their poster. That's huge. That this speaks volumes about how fantastic him and the crew are. Like they do love art, and they're actually like supporters of art as well, and a bunch of other forms. So that was fantastic. So Robert, if you're hearing this, thank you. That's amazing, and I appreciate your trust. And I'm gonna go home and sweat now. Actually, I'm already home. I'm gonna start sweating. So now I'm feeling the pressure. I wasn't feeling the pressure so much while I was working on it. Now I'm feeling more pressure.
That's good.
It was approved.
Yeah. That's good.
It's definitely my favorite of all of them, for sure.
Thank you. Thank you.
And it's what I have a thing because I'm a woman, I think, and I bring this into the podcast every once in a while, like. So how about a woman's perspective on all this? Because it's often the guys talking about the music, and I've played guitar, so I can talk about music on a certain level, and then with art, and I'm guessing that because this industry that you're in is sort of a male-dominated industry, then the gallery's pool of artists that they're going to pull from are going to be primarily male artists.
And which is sad because it shouldn't be a boys' club, because I know tons of artists like Tara McPherson, Sarah Deck, Tuda Ole. I just totally mispronounced her name. I am huge fans of, and like 1,000 more ladies that need representation in artwork, and like they should, like this should not be a boys' club. And like I always felt that way because like when I do a lot of pop art. It seems like, like most of the audience or whatever, it was geeky guys. I'm like, there's plenty of geeky ladies or whatever. And it seems like it's getting more open, which is fantastic. And it's still a long, long ways to go. But absolutely love when I see like one of the girls actually throw out like some super nerdy shit. And I'm like, oh, yeah. All right. You're just as big as a geek as I am. I love it. I love it. And I'm like Sarah's like a great horror artist, and I think she did like Plan 9 from Outer Space. I'm like, say what? Cool. I'm like, I didn't see that one coming. I'm like, yes.
Yeah.
So,
yeah.
Well, okay, you should do some posters. So I was like, you need to get in. We need more.
Yeah. It's not just your industry. I mean, even children's books, which you would think would be more female dominated, the people who have won, they've had to make a whole issue of how many Caldecott winners there are that have been male over the years. The illustration prize of the year has been male dominated for as long as children's books, for as long as the Caldecott's been given out. And,
really?
Yeah, and it's funny because I don't want to talk about myself too much, but I go to a lot a lot of children's book conferences, workshops. I've co-led some of those, and the people who show up who want to learn how to illustrate children's books are primarily female. There are just so many more, like so many more women and trans and non-binary people who are trying to get into children's books, but for some reason there seems to be this favoritism where and I don't know what it is. It's like a certain star power, or I don't know the origin of it. I feel like a little angry, because I'm like, why is my stuff not any better than why is it not competitive? And I
No,
wonder
I mean, absolutely. There is like, there's no like, like benefit to either sex in the arts, I think.
Right.
And
right.
I think the arts actually always draws like, the quirky kids who maybe quite didn't fit in, want to start a band or start artwork, whatever. And I know like growing up, like couldn't throw a football I don't want to curse. I couldn't throw a football. I couldn't play basketball. But I could draw, and that's something that spoke to me.
Yeah.
And I know plenty of friends of mine, like boys and girls alike, whatever, like are drawn to the arts. And I never understood when, especially that playing field. I mean, that there should not be a boys club for that at all. I mean, it's the arts, for God's sake. It's like, dude, like, like actually we just lost Tina Turner today. And like, what a beautiful soul and great music, great artist. And actually, she should be judged on her art alone, not just the fact that she's a woman, but the fact that she spoke up for women's rights and actually had to work that hard as a woman in that industry. It's like,
as a black woman, as a woman of color,
Exactly. No, it's Tina Turner, man. You can't deny that. It's like, and for anybody who wants to put a cap on it or not include someone because of, like their sex or gender or their identity or whatever, is like, no, dude, this is the arts. And like the arts have always been like the people who weren't, like, and not to, like look down upon sports or anything or specific things that where you need a physical build or something you might be better at, you might have advantage at, due to your gender. The arts were never like that. It's a level playing field. And like, the women are just as talented as men, actually in more aspects than that, than just the arts. In my mind, just especially the arts shouldn't have that problem. And like, we're supposed to be artists. We're supposed to be open. Like, we're supposed to be inclusive. Like, we're supposed to be the ones that look at the world, the dreamers, like, and the dreamers aren't supposed to say like, no. It's like, all right, it's a closed club, unless you're this specific thing. And then, like, you're not going to get that opportunity. I'm with you. I'm angry too.
Yeah, me too. You got us all riled up.
All right, we'll bring it down a little bit.
I wonder if it's like the people who are marketing it. How much of it is the actual artist being that way, and how much of it is the marketing industry and
or laziness or something? Yeah, whatever the blame is for it. But yeah,
well, I wonder, like, I mean, if the society not promote like I was very lucky. Like I got early on, I started to draw, and I had a lot of support from my family, from my teachers and whatnot. And so, and like, is it supportive system or whatever, or is it like like if it's an industry that's for artists or whatever, then why are there more guys? Are they actually expected, or are they given more opportunities as a man to do these jobs or whatever? Or like, I don't know what the problem is. Like, I don't know if it's just strictly society, or is it these industries in particular that are just difficult?
Yeah. You don't have the answer? God damn.
Yeah.
I don't. I wish I did. I'll do some more internet sleuthing, see if I can get back to you in about 5 minutes. We'll figure this out.
Yeah, okay, all right.
I'll get back to us. Oh, man. Did you say you were able to go to the New Orleans show? Were you able to see him?
Sadly, I was not. No, my wife actually had COVID that night, and
sorry to hear.
And like, she was feeling ill, whatever. Not just that night, but she had COVID, and like she had started feeling pretty ill, and like I was supposed to. They were looking at getting some passes, and something happened where that wasn't going to happen. So I was going to order tickets that morning, and she's just like, "Oh my gosh!" She's like, "I'm going to test." I'm like, she tested. I'm like, okay, and we're not going. And I was just like, oh man, but she's much better. She's fine. Thankfully, it was good. Nothing. It wasn't a big deal. So that was the first and foremost thing. But we'd seen him a few times here in New Orleans, but that particular show, I would have loved to attend. To have attended. Yeah. I'm heartbroken, but I was glad I was able to, be a part of it in some small way by doing a poster for my show. So I felt like a little bit of my spirit was there. So like I'll be able to, that's what I'm telling myself, so I can live with that, not seeing that show. So if not, I'm going to try and maybe go somewhere else in the States, or see if they're doing Europe while we're over there. Did y'all, so have you guys seen any of this tour?
Not yet. Or you didn't go out yet, did you, Kate? Yeah.
I went to when they toured in
in
overseas. I saw them in London and Dublin
Yeah.
and
Nice.
Cardiff, and that was cool. I've never seen them play on their home turf before or outside of the United States before, so that was sort of a bucket list item, and it was definitely worth it. I mean, it was more money than, because now I can't afford to go to any of the U.S. shows that outside of like driving distance, but it was worth the experience for sure. So if you do get an opportunity to see them outside the United States, it's a different kind of crowd. It's
I did
interesting.
actually. We have some friends of ours that live overseas, and we've seen some great shows in Europe. And I don't know why, but yes, there is different from the States. And not that the States don't have great shows, because we do. And like I've seen some beautiful, fantastic performances. But like next month we're gonna see Susie and Echo and the Bunnymen
Nice.
in Greece, and like I've never seen Susie
Oh,
like ever.
yeah,
And like, so this is a bucket list. So I'll be able to see that show next month. Is kind of softens the blow a little bit. Sorry,
Yeah.
Robert. Like, I want to come. But I would definitely love to go see one of the shows on this tour of this. So I'm still looking into it. Hopefully,
cool.
I'll be able to
you
make it.
should.
Yeah, well, we'll be at the New York and Philly. We'll both be hitting
Ah,
up
nice.
those. So
Okay.
if you end up at one of those, definitely drop us a line. Be cool to cross paths. But yeah, so we're
Right
gonna
on.
do that in Maryland. I'm gonna try to hit that one, and then take my kiddo and wife to the Miami finale is our goal. So,
Ah, nice.
that'll be
Actually, the Miami one would be easier for me to get to. But
Yeah.
are you going to see him at Madison Square Garden?
yeah. The first night
I've
so
always
far.
wanted-
That's yeah, they're doing 3 shows there, so should be
That
cool.
would be amazing.
Yeah, and I'm sure with that putting the design on the t-shirts and stuff now too, you're gonna just see people walking around and they'll be wearing your art, man.
That's going to be really, really strange. I was contacted by the collections again, because I always do a variant and a regular poster,
Okay.
and so and they weren't going to do the variant, but they liked it, like they did really well, and thanks to anyone who's listening who got one, whatever. The band decided they wanted to do the second colorway as well.
Okay.
So, but did you say t-shirts? I didn't hear about that one yet. T-shirts?
Yeah, they through. I don't think you can get them at the shows for the ones that have already happened. Now you'd have to order them through the Cure's website for past shows, But yeah, they're putting them on T-shirts and tote bags and everything. Which
Nice.
hopefully, yeah, you're getting some kickback on that or something. But
Yeah, I'm definitely
you
going
got
to find a t-shirt. I didn't, so I have some artist proofs coming. I'm hoping to get them this week. We leave next week to go overseas.
Cool.
So I don't think I'll be able to send any out to. I had a few people that were nice enough to actually message me and write, and they said they would like some. So, but I don't think I'll be able to get any out before I go.
Yeah.
So I think I probably won't have anything until July.
Yeah, you do have you have a t-shirt. You do. You have a t-shirt on the website.
Yeah.
Oh, sweet. Okay, cool.
Yeah.
Well, I'm gonna have to tell someone to send me. Of course, it's always hard because I wear an extra small. So every time, like, extra small. Really, I think we have like one of those
Yeah.
somewhere. We have to go track that down.
Yeah,
So,
I think
awesome.
they just
Yeah,
had
they
small
just
with the
have
smalls.
small.
Yeah.
Just have to dry it a few times.
Yeah, either that or it'd make a great tank top.
There you go.
There you go.
Or
Well,
wrap.
you go for the whole '90s oversized look.
Yeah.
Like
Actually,
all
it's
the
coming
t-shirts
back,
were
right?
extra. Yeah, it totally is.
Like I just got to the point where I wore my skinny jeans, a couple years ago, and like now I'm like, all right, are we back to baggy? 'Cause I've been through them all. I've been around for a while, so I'm like,
Yeah.
are we doing holes in the knees again? Okay, that's great. Love
Yep.
it. But as long as it's black, I'm fine. So
Yeah. And I did happen to catch you had talked to, was it Michelle Franzinelli? Am I pronouncing it right? That has like an Italian Cure Facebook thing for the Cure or something. You'd had a little,
oh man,
we love doing like origin tales on this and stuff, and it had a small little section of how you got into the Cure and stuff as a kid that I really loved. I was wondering if you could recap that for us as well, because we had some good crossover.
Yeah, it was funny because like that's one of my first memories of the Cure. So I was living in California at the time, and like all my friends and I, they were like old skateboarders, and like like we were listening to like Black Flags or Jerks, like you're you know, it's like it's all punk, dude, like a
Yeah.
little bit of metal and like, you know, like suicidal tendencies and like rah. And then I had an uncle of mine who was a big influence, and you know, like back in the early '80s, he had like a big red mohawk, and he had some tattoos, and like, you know, like, and he always like he turned me on to like the Cramps and like a bunch of punk, like these are like my first Billy Idol album was Generation X that he had, so. You know, and so like I was just used to him having a lot of punk or like hardcore music around, and I was going to listen to his albums one day. He's like, yeah, check this out now, whatever, and he had bought Boys Don't Cry, and I was just like, what is this? So I'm looking at the album, I'm like, all right, so I'm listening to it, and I was like, oh man, this is really good. I'm like, oh, and jumping to somebody else's train. Title track Boys Don't Cry, and I was just like, wow, this is fantastic. It was great. And like, but I didn't want to tell any of my friends let's listen to it because I felt like it wasn't like hardcore enough, whatever, and they were going to, you know, give me some grief about it. And so one day after school, I was going with a friend, and we had all skated, a couple friends and whatnot, around my friend's neighborhood, and we were having a sleepover at his house. And like one of the other guys just come with us, and like he bugged out for some reason or another, so it's just me and my buddy. And so like, you know, after eating dinner at you know, downstairs, whatever, we went up to go hang out in his room. He had his own TV and stuff, so I was just like, he was living it up, you know, like his parents are a little bit better off, whatever. I'm like, dude, your own room, your own TV. I'm like, he always had like the newest decks and everything, and I was like, oh man, like, you know, like, every once in a while I get some hand-me-downs from him if he wasn't using that deck without. And so I was just like, we're looking, he was doing something like reading a magazine or whatever, and I was going through his tape list or his tape deck or section, and there was a cassette tape, and it was The Boys Don't Cry. I'm like, dude. He's like, what? I was like, I think that's my sister. She must have left that here or something, whatever. I'm like, it's really good. He's like, you listen to it? I'm like, yeah. He's like, right? It's good. I'm like, so like, all I do, we're listening to it, man. It's like, dude, this is fucking rad. And so, you know, and since then I've been a fan, man. And it was just, you know, it was cool. Like, even though we were all, you know, punk skaters, man. Like even the Cure spoke to us at that age, and I was just like, man, these guys are awesome. So, and then I just followed their career throughout the years, man.
That's cool.
And like I said, like I always had like, you know, some of their music playing. I think I've had most of their albums in like every format, you know, whether it's tape, CD, you know, like super CD, super audio CD, like, you know, it's like albums. Like, nuts. So
I love it. Yeah, but, I mean that was kind of my start too. Was when we were all skate kids on the street there, and the same thing. We would get like Thrasher and just buy whatever album, you know. We got onto the Misfits, got in that, and like Dead Kennedys. What is this one? And that's that one. But there's always like a Cure shirt or something kind of sprinkled in there too. So they were always kind of in the mix there. And sure enough, those tapes started spreading around, and then gradually as we're all doing our little sessions there on the ditch and stuff, and they'd be like, we'll put on you know, Suicidal Tendency, and I'm like, I kind of want to put on the Cure, man, Love Cats, and I'm like, what?
Like, I don't know if I skate to it, but I feel it.
Yeah, exactly. But yeah, it's funny.
It's probably what Tony Hawk's listening to, like, you know, it's like whenever he was skating, like, you know, oh man,
totally.
His weddings, he danced with his wife. Their wedding song was Plain Song.
Yeah, he's definitely down with the Cure.
There you go, right there.
I know, right?
Right. Oh man. So like, and then like, even like, and like, has any other band been that, like, you know, like sort of looking for, like, you know, like no matter what decade they were in, they were still influential.
Yeah.
And like to this day, I mean, still, I mean, like, and not many bands have that staying power.
Yeah.
And I mean, that's just a test, you know, to what they're doing. They're, you know.
Yeah.
But so what was your? Were you a skate punk too, Kate? Like, how'd you get into the Cure?
My boyfriend, I dated some skaters, and I did inherit a deck at one point, and I learned how to ollie. And
nice.
Just learning how to ollie and doing that, like, in front of the public school kid. I went to Catholic school, so I'd go up to the public school kids. They had like all the good rails and everything, and I didn't ollie, and I landed it once really well, and I was like, Shannon, she's baby.
There you go.
So I earned some respect.
Yeah.
Nice.
But I did get into the Cure around the same time. That was like 1988, ish,
Yeah.
and I think it was the Standing on a Beach singles collection that kind of came out just before Disintegration, and that everybody was circulating. And then I had the Columbia House magazine or
Yep.
catalog that came in the mail. I got a whole bunch of shit from that.
The stamps,
Yeah.
you know.
Bring it back.
Yeah.
I love it. Columbia House. Yeah.
Well, yeah. Well, they had to have gone bankrupt. I never paid them more than $1.
Right. I don't know. They must have had a lot of pennies from a lot of people.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
Awesome.
But yeah, it was. They think the skaters like they liked. I don't know if they were kind of like in the closet about liking the Cure, but my boyfriend at the time he was very much into the Cure, and it was because his older brother had a poster on the wall that was like the "Let's Go to Bed" poster.
Okay.
Oh, dude.
Nice.
Robert in his heyday and all that. I think he had me at the hair, man. Like, first time I actually saw like his hair, I was like, all right, anybody with hair like that, dude, I'm down.
Exactly.
Totally.
That's cool. But so yeah, that's the other big question is, so you heard them before the whole image side of it and stuff then, and then did you kind of latch on to how they looked and stuff based on videos or magazines?
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
I mean, MTV was a huge, like, all right. So one of my stepdads, about not too far from that time, whatever, he worked for the cable companies.
Mm-hmm.
And so I was like the only kid on my block who had HBO. And I was the only kid who had MTV. So I remember watching MTV when it first came out. Like, it was where at Mouse were like, what the shit is this? You know, like, that was like Night Flight and whatever else. But no, man, like, my looks changed as the 80s went on. Like I stopped being a little less punk. Like, and like I'm still like be punk at heart or whatever. Like, you know, of course I love metal, like Iron Maiden and all this stuff. So like I'm pretty eclectic with my music, whatever. But you know, like as soon as like I guess it was well before Disintegration, but like when the goth scene moved in, I was all in. Like first time I saw like Lex and Tyr or like Sisters of Mercy, dude, and everybody wearing, I was like, yeah, I'm all right, I'm in. This is a natural progression for me or whatever. They're still a little angry and they're wearing black, whatever. They're a little anti-establishment going on. This is great. I'm in. So
yeah, that's awesome.
But no, yeah, it's like was it what the hell was it Nike or Reeboks? Like his big tennis shoes back in the 80s.
They all had them.
Reeboks.
Yeah.
Oh, it was Reeboks? Yeah.
Reebok. And his were technically high tech.
His were different. Yeah, his were
he had
different
some weird,
brand.
it was like high tech or something.
Yeah.
But, we always thought he had like custom extended tongue put on it somehow or something.
Right.
we just
tie him at the bottom of the lace, whatever.
Yeah,
pop those bad boys up, man.
We assumed he was sponsored or something. Had his own signature shoe.
I'm like, I thought he was a rebel, dude. He went from like all black dude and white tennis shoes. I mean, that's a statement right there, man.
Yeah, that's brave.
So I was like, all right.
Totally.
Yeah. Now shoes are like these big moon boots that are evidently were made for firemen. I just found out recently, like the giant shoes that he wears.
Yeah. Huh.
Nice. So like, no matter how hot the stage gets, man, like his feet are gonna be nice and comfy, dude. Like, you know, like fireproof. All right, nice.
He's up there for like 3 hours. He's got to keep his feet comfortable and nice and safe.
Little elevation. I missed wearing all my big platform boots back from the early 2000s, man. Like, my wife came home. She had some platform Espadrilles or something.
Nice.
I was like, whoa, wait, platforms are back? She's like, not for you. Not for the guys yet. I probably made it back then. I'm like, damn it. I'm like, because like I keep a lot of my old clothes. Like I've got like a blue cheer shirt I had like when I was a teenager. Awesome. Like, you know, like it's got holes barely together. Like I got like a bunch of old ministry shirts and whatnot. And like I still have a closet, I think, a box up in the attic, whatever. That's like the platform, like clodhoppers, like look like almost like Frankenstein boots and like the big. Like, it's like I miss it, man, because like, you know, it gave me like an extra 4 or 5 inches, dude. And that and tease the shit out of my hair, and it'd be almost as tall as my friend. So
there you go. That's great.
However, I think the environment's a little better off now that I'm not using so much hair product these days.
Probably.
So,
yeah, I think we can trace it all back to Robert's hairspray, probably.
I got a friend of mine like he's another poster artist. He lives in London, man, and he doesn't do the hair. He doesn't brush the hair.
Yeah.
And it just works because he's got this beautiful mop, dude. And like,
right.
I think if he brushed it, dude, I think he'd lose like part of his artistic ability.
Yeah.
Like, I don't know. I think there's a lot of power up there in the nest. And I think Robert's the same way, man. Like, like, dude, how are we gonna do the song? I don't know, man. Don't mess with the hair, dude. Like, that's where his mojo lives.
It'll all come to me.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. Tim Burton, it's like the same way. Tim Burton's got like his crazy brain mop going on.
Right? I think he got that from Robert, though. I don't know. Totally. Who did it first?
But it works.
I guess as far as still got it, then have you heard the new songs that haven't officially come out but live? Have you?
I heard a recording, and then somebody did. It was actually pretty good audio from the show as well. So I wanted to hear something, and like I want to support them, so I don't want to listen to bootleg music. So I'm trying not to, like, so it's out. But I did listen to it, and I don't know, man. Like, again, with the consistency, like, of good songs. Yeah. How many decades later? Like, so many other bands, like, they come through and maybe there's like one good album, 4 tracks off that album, and then anything after that, they just can do it again. And it's like lightning in the bottle, and they do it time after time after time after time after time. Yeah. But Alone and was it End Song?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Something good. Yeah, I know we're all dying for this record, but at this point, it's just great to hear them live. That's pretty cool. It just keeps stoking the fire more. Where you're like, oh, I just want to hear the album now.
I want to listen to it in the car.
They just
driving and listen to the actual fully mixed album.
All the chimes.
I just bought a brand new receiver that came in yesterday. So as soon as the album comes out, I'm ready.
Cool.
Actually, no, I got to replace like 2 more speakers and then I'll be ready. So I've got the best audio system I've had in my life, since I was a kid, so it's a long way from like the boombox and the cassette tape, dude. So like I'm ready for the audio. Put it out. Like, let's go. Let's release this like tomorrow.
Totally.
Yeah.
I initially would want to ask you if you could design the new album cover, what kind of ideas do you think would come off the top of your head? But that might be a bit of a tall order, but based on some bootlegs.
Hugely, very large, super tall, tallest order there. No, man, like how would you encapsulate visually like that would take a lot of time and research, but like I would almost see like some sort of ethereal floating entity, like maybe made of light or something, like going through like a forest and ether and like going into the like, I don't know, man, like where do you start with that?
It's a lot of heavy concepts going on in that album too, I think. So
right,
because a lot of themes about death and not being in touch with the person, and he's an atheist. He doesn't believe in there being like an afterlife or anything. Unless he's changed.
Yeah, who knows?
Oh no, like I'm an atheist as well, and like I think somehow like whatever it is that makes up our spirit or like who we are, or like where we are as a person, or whatever, that energy, like I don't know, man. I think it's too special not to go on in some other realm. And like, there's a lot of people I know like who aren't here anymore. And like, life's too short, but I hope, let me be an atom floating in the cosmos. Let me go see the rest of this universe that we're such a small part of. Like, dude, let me go still be an explorer somehow, some way.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And like, that would be cool. And like, that's, that's what I was thinking with the ethereal lady, like, like being a light or something, or whatever, like, passing over from like one realm to another. I read a lot of sci-fi and fantasy too. So like, there's always a beautiful thought. Like in my mind, like, like whether it's just that person and their spirit and like lives on just in our memories, and maybe that's the power of it. That's how people lived eons, is through the memories of others, and being remembered and being spoken about and being captured, like whether song, writing, art, or form, whatever. So I don't know.
I like that. Yeah, it's cool. It's a true way to be immortal, is the art you leave behind. It's very cool. I guess an easier one then. Do you have a favorite already Cure album cover art and concept?
Oh man, it's tough. Like Disintegration was great, and then no, I'm the short answer. No, I don't have a favorite one. Yeah. Like there's stuff like, man, like to me it's like it's so like I'm not gonna use avant-garde. Maybe I might use that term. I don't know. But like their albums, I represent them
Yeah.
and like, you know, their entity, whatever. And my art sensibilities lie in like trying to capture something in its form. And like, actually, if you really wanted to like test my metal, ask me to do abstract art. Like it's gone. Like I don't have that. Like, you know, like I can do abstract stuff within something that I'm drawing. But as far as just creating a purely abstract piece of artwork, I don't know, man. Like maybe when I'm 80, I might be able to do it. I don't know.
When you can't see
Like,
anymore.
Yeah.
Right? Well, it's getting close now, so we might get more abstract.
Yeah, just take your glasses off.
Yeah.
Hey, cut loose.
Yeah. But I'm gonna say I think it was Degas, but one of the artists, whatever, he lost his. And please, like whoever's out there in podcast land, if I'm wrong, don't crucify me.
Yeah.
So it's like Degas. I think it was Degas, but I think he was losing his vision toward the end of his life, whatever. He still wanted to paint. And to him, he just wanted to paint light and the way it reflected with shadow, whatever. And it didn't matter that he captured the form specifically or that he captured, you know, like proportions or, like when you try to capture like the human figure of the face or something like that.
Right.
He just purely wanted to capture light and the way it played with the rest of the elements, whatever. And so he got real impressionistic and abstract with it, and I thought that was pretty cool.
Yeah, that's right.
So I'm like, all right, if I start to lose my vision, I'm like, all right, I'm just gonna go that route, and I'm gonna go look up exactly what he said and memorize it, so
there
I can let it be my course.
Just stick to it. Sounds like a plan.
But and if worst comes to worst, man, I'm gonna really get into like just listening to music, man. Maybe I'll learn how to play an instrument.
There you go.
I just don't have the coordination, but yeah.
Right on. Cool, man.
This brings me to an art question. Since we're seeing this is your studio behind you, I assume like this.
Yeah, actually, can't really see it that well because it's on the iPad. But yeah,
yeah, but I see. Is that a Cintiq that you got there? Or?
Yes. Let's see if I can help you out. Sorry for the poor camera chip,
nice.
whatever. Yeah. So let's see if I turn this way. Does that help? Yes. Okay.
Oh, yeah.
We'll have to do some screenshots here.
Yeah, this thing is a lifesaver. Like I absolutely love it. I started when I first started drawing digitally. You only had the mouse. When I was talking about my friend who got me into silk screening, so I'm at his house, and then I did a pencil drawing, and then I had a light table at home, and I did my inking over it for what I wanted to do for this particular poster. And then we scanned it in like 4 pieces because I worked big, and like a scanner was like an 8x10 scanner. I'm like, dude, you're an artist. Where's your 11x17? It's like too expensive. I haven't got one of those, you know. So we did it. So we scanned like 4 or 5 pieces, stitched together in Photoshop, and then I was trying to color with a mouse. Thought I was going to die. It was like just a horrible experience. Like if you try to do too much with a mouse, like, you know, drawing with a mouse, yes. And then, and I believe it was Wacom, same company, came out with a pen stylus. And I was like, oh my God, this is fucking genius. Like, I don't know who wrote this in ones and zeros, but you guys, that's the real genius of this level one. And so I spent years drawing on my table and looking at my screen. So I had to teach myself how to draw that way.
Right.
And then they came out with the Cintiq. I was like, wait a minute, I can actually draw on the monitor itself. I'm like, all right, I'm atheist, but there might be somebody out there that's
somebody inspired.
There's something out there. Yeah.
That's great.
But whatever out in the ether that brought that about, dude, I'm good with. But so I started drawing with that, and I was like, oh man, okay, this is perfect. And like this thing, like you can tilt it like 360, you know, you spin it 360 degrees, which is crazy. And you tilt, function locks, whatever. And so it actually, because that was the hardest thing about drawing. First off, with the stylus, whatever. Like if you're right-handed, trying to do like a left-handed curve or something, whatever, you can't like turn your computer around. But this thing, you can actually turn like paper, so I can flip the angle, turn it around, and it's way more natural. And the resolution and the sensitivity with the pen, and that it replicates anything in media that's, you know, like in physical media, it replicates.
Yeah.
And one of the greatest honors I ever had, I got to do a show in LA, and I got to meet Rick Baker. And Rick Baker is he's a monster maker. So if you see Michael Jackson's Thriller, American Werewolf in London, he's the guy who created all those wonderful monsters. And so I did some artwork for the show. He had some of his art in the show, and he was super kind and generous with time, and we were talking. And we were both talking about like the first iteration of Photoshop and kind of power tools and all the plugins, and the nuances of drawing the mouse and like the conversation we're having now. And he had this really, really poignant thought. He's just like, it's creation without consequence. And I'm like, I'm going to use that. And I've been using it for years now. Because like, thank you, Earthmaker. What are we doing tonight? But it allows you, this allows me to try things I would never try on paper. Like we were talking about earlier. Like if I was to spend like 80 hours on a painting and I had a wild idea in my head, I'm like, oh, let me see if this would work. You could ruin all that work.
Yeah.
And so you're afraid to kind of try stuff out of your wheelhouse. And it takes a lot of courage to try that with something you spent so much, you invested so much of your time in. Well, with this, I can turn on a new layer, try it, see if it works. And if it doesn't work, no harm, no foul. And that really let me grow as an artist and try things I would have never tried and do things I would have never been able to do. And so technology is your friend there. And don't get me started about AI. We'll leave that alone tonight.
But it seems like it's very ergonomically friendly. Like
it is
ability
actually
to tilt and lift like that.
One of my friends, Marco Manab, is another poster artist, and actually we have like a quad of us, Dave and Kev. If you're out there, hello. He's got a standing desk, which I need, but they have a standing desk, and you just push a button, you can actually stand up and draw with it. And the Cintiq weighs about like the stand on it weighs like about 40 pounds, so it's pretty hefty. It's chunky. But I would like to do that. But my friend's telling me, so I'll probably order the desk when I get back. He said it's been a lifesaver because he comes in, he can stand up for a while, draw, sit down. Because I have like the timer on my watch tells me when I have to stand up. Being an artist, as you know, like I'm gonna be like this when like all hunched over when I get older. Like spend like hours and hours a day, like looking at a screen and hunched over. But so ergonomically, it's nice. So I highly suggest it. So wake them, and if you need a spokesperson,
sponsor this dude.
Right?
Me too. I need one too.
Actually, no, sponsor. Yes, sponsor the show.
Sure. There we go. Cool. I guess as we wind down, then, unless you had any other specific art questions, Kate, do you?
Well, one I had just because it's relevant right now. So I'm leading this Cure fan art group that's just all levels, totally inclusive, just on Instagram. And we started with the Robert Smith birthday challenge, doing portraits of Robert. And people just went to photos that they knew that they liked and did art from photos. And for now we're doing Simon. Simon's birthday is on June 1st. And so we're pulling together pictures, and you have a celebrity, you have photographers who are known for their work, and when you're drawing, you're doing a lot of figure drawing in your what you do. So for instance, the Cure poster that you did, you have a woman's face. Did you go to photos? Do you look online for things? What do you do with your process for that?
Generally, I try to stay away from faces when I get posters for that specific reason, because like I can draw faces, but it's not gonna look like anyone in particular. And like she's actually no one in particular. Like I looked at some makeup photos from like the 30s and 40s of like the heavy eyes and like eyebrows, whatever. The hair, just I was having fun with lines. I think that might be my wife's hand. So and then
hands are hard.
Yes, they are. And like I use my own hands as reference quite often, but I've got these medieval paws and like not nearly as delicate and ladylike. And then lips, like those are actually fun. Like, like it's hard because like you change any line in the mouth shape or whatever, and it changes the expression. Like as humans, we read expressions minutiae. So I will look at reference. I don't like to reference any particular one photo unless, I do a lot of movie posters. So that I have to have a lot of reference. So that I'm actually given assets from the film house themselves. Like, I don't know if I can talk too much about it, but I've got an order film that's near and dear to my heart, and their assets package was fantastic. Like I've gotten like behind the scenes photos of like, I'll put some names out there. It was Val Kilmer and then Christopher Slater. Most people are like, and so for those ones, I have to use photo reference because those are very specific faces, and and a lot of the films are actually based on this person's look. Like
Right.
I've had to like draw Tom Cruise in the past and other people, and like there's no making up some of the face and expressions, and especially like when I was doing some stuff with Marvel, like doing Chris's face, whatever. He's got very specific lips, whatever, and most of the notes are actually about his lips. Trying to get them right and make them look like him because like subtle things change, whatever. Like when I was growing up and doing artwork myself, everyone in my family would ask me to draw their portrait, and I'm like, I would never draw portraits ever, never, ever, ever, ever. I hate drawing faces. And I draw a lot of faces these days, especially like last 2 years. Like I don't know, it's like kind of ironic, but it's funny. But no. So or if there's a specific property or a band asks me to use a photo, then I will.
Yeah.
But for like gig posters, whatever. But for anything commercial, no. I try and use my own artistic abilities, even though they're not all that great. And so I have to look at eyes. Okay, how are eyes shaped? What is that eye shape? Whatever. And then I try and add as much of my own to it as I can. And for like her, like like looking at it now and seeing it, whatever, I'm like, okay, I think actually most of my artwork, I guess a lot of artists like this too. You look at you are the harshest critic of your work, whatever. And there's things I'm like, okay, I know how to draw that part of the anatomy, but was that 100% correct? I don't know. Hopefully it looks great and it's in the picture, whatever. So like, and then I look at like the old masters who would actually sit and paint like royalty or whoever they had to paint back in the day. And they had moving light and no photograph. They couldn't photograph the person to paint from. And so they had to actually look at them and draw them. And that is still very hard because light changes throughout the day. And then, your eyes plays trick on you, whatever. And then you have to know, like how to draw faces, like the eyes are halfway between the forehead and the chin, the nose, whatever, and perspective, and get all that right. And then not everybody's features are the same. And then if you draw one eye identical to the other eye, never works out because like people's eyes aren't identical. And like, that's the first time you'll know. It's like, all right, they just either copy and paste and flip that eye because that has the same eye on both sides. It's like, it does not work. So, so the last, I guess, 10 years or so, I've been having to do a lot more portraits and faces. So I'm getting better, but still a ways to go.
That's great. Yeah.
But if you're going to draw a fan art of Robert, I would like to use a photograph of Robert, and then you need to give the photographer credit because they took that photo and they captured that moment, and they're just as much. I mean, that's art in itself. That's just another form, and so.
Right.
But I always try and give credit where credit.
Yeah, because it's kind of an issue, and that I'm trying to help the fan artists that are in the group kind of understand that when we just copy something that is already so been published by someone else, and then
looking at you, Warhol, because then they just settle that whole Prince thing.
Yeah, right. But we're talking about maybe like putting a calendar together later on. So if we're going to publish something ourselves of our art, then
then find out, track down who did the photograph, make sure they're cool with it, or if they want to be part of the process. And then I've had other friends that have they have specific models they work with and they shoot, and like I'm in the old school, man. I'll go put on some lights and then dress up in like a sheet, and see if I can get the light reference right. If not, I've got to figure it out, It's like, but some of my favorite artists are the Hildebrandt brothers, and like seeing all their photos they were able to take, and like they did their own photo shoots of them, like they did the Hobbit calendar way back when, and they dressed up as hobbits, they dressed up as dwarves, whatever, and you see like like when they're doing like the Gandalf outfit where they got it, and like, how much of your imagination, but always try and put some of your imagination in there because make it. Yes, to draw Robert Smith, but that's a hard task because he's a very specific person, and it's not like you can go take a photo of him and like, hey Robert, I'm sorry, can I borrow you for a few minutes? I'm going to do your likeness. I need you to sit still for me. You got like 8 hours or a week, whatever. So I do, So that's tricky. It's tough, but yeah, if you're gonna do a calendar, even if it's not for much, it's still for profit, whatever, and profit off someone else's work without sharing or at least acknowledging. And like good old Etsy and eBay. Like I see my artwork a lot of times. Like actually, I had to look up something today because I wanted to look up some of the cure posters that I hadn't seen yet.
Yeah.
So I went to look them up online, and sure enough, there's a poster that I did for Robert that they own, and you can get a 11 by 17 copy over at like eBay or Etsy or whatever. Somebody like dude, you guys are fast. It's whack-a-mole, man. What is it? You haven't really made it as an artist unless you've been plagiarized.
Yeah.
So, right. I think that's how you tell if you're doing something good. Like, somebody copy that. All right, you're on the right track.
Yeah. Okay, cool. Any general advice for up and coming artists in your field in particular?
My field, like, art's weird. Like, I've had this conversation with my friends quite often. It's like if you're a doctor or a lawyer, there's kind of like a career path for you.
Mm-hmm.
So you kind of know where after I graduate college, I should go intern with somebody from this company or whatever. And you always have an apprenticeship or something to learn. And art, it's not like that. I feel like it's not like that with film or music anyway. Like I could give people advice. I've gotten actually the best advice I've gotten from an artist. Like, I could tell you how I did it, but it's not going to work for you.
Right.
And I'm like, that sucks.
Yeah.
He's like, yeah, but it's kind of weird. But the advice you can give though is like, keep trying. Like, if there's something you're passionate about, like I'm 53. I didn't start doing what I like. To me, success isn't like necessarily how much money or fame or anything. It's like being able to pay your bills doing what you love. Mm-hmm. That to me is like, that not necessarily success, but that's the payoff for me. And like, I'm not going to be a rich man, but like if I can keep my lights on, then maybe it's an achievement. Like, and on the outside is always looks better than what's going on the inside. Outside looking in, it's always like, whoa, this is awesome. And like, it's not always as glamorous, or whatever. But persistence. And there's a point to where you want to show off your artwork, but you don't want to seem too desperate and show them that, like back in the day, like if you stop for 5 minutes, I'd show you some artwork if I had it on me. Like, all right, I'd talk to anybody and everything. It's like, because you're young. I mean, you're hungry, you're passionate. You're like, you want to make it in like whatever field that you love. Mm-hmm. And art's hard, man. And like, I will say, dude, with the internet and Instagram and TikTok and these other platforms, as bad as they are, the good part is you can actually get the attention of someone. Like if I wanted to be a comic artist, it'd be a lot easier these days because I can reach out. There are people reach out. Like back in the day, I can't tell you how many hours I spent at Kinko's, Xerox and drawing, writing letters, and send them off to who knows where to, like I didn't even know what department I should send it to. Right. But the nicest letter I ever got, like before Lord of the Rings came out, I found out there's a small studio in New Zealand called Weta doing like some stuff, some artwork, whatever. And I found it through some fan site, whatever. So I wrote this big long letter and sent samples of my work. And I actually got a letter back, a handwritten letter back, Richard over at Weta. It was the nicest no thank you I'd ever got in my life. Like the fact that he actually took time to say no thank you and actually took a look at it.
Yeah,
it was super. So, but I feel like there's a lot more opportunities that way. So like there's online forums. Yeah. There's ways to get in touch with bands that you like. So if you want to do artwork for a band, it's a bit easier, different avenues to talk to, like, who their management is or who I should talk to. And like, you don't always want to bug the band themselves, like find out who their manager is or their management or who the label is. And then there should be an FAQ somewhere, like, got 1 million of these a day right here. Yeah. But it's easy to publish your artwork online and get people to see it. Like copyright stuff's always crazy. Like, like post it online and all of a sudden it belongs to everybody and whatnot. Right. So there is that risk there. Persistence, keep trying. And, I was fortunate to have a good support system. Like, like they always supported, me being, I don't know what, if I were to have children and they want to be an artist, we'd have to have a real long talk. I'm like, all right, the chances are minimal. Like, and musicians, like, I have so many friends of mine that are just incredible musicians, and some of them just never got their shit. Yeah. And then some of them got somewhere and listen, like, and it's weird. Lightning's got to strike, and you got to know in the general area where it's going to be, trying to get there and be there when it happens. And like, so there's all those factors, but just, if you're passionate about something, don't stop because someone told you couldn't. Right. Or don't stop because someone told you no. And I'm a firm believer of like, like when one door closes, another one's going to open somewhere. Right on. And you're going to get a lot of no's before you get a yes. And I'm not going to lie, it hurts. It hurts when you get turned down. in his job, but you can't let that deter you from what you love. And I worked a day job. Like I've worked for the USDA, like did construction, Taco Bell. I did it all, but I knew I wanted to draw, and it took, like if I would have told myself in high school, like, all right, you can pay your bills with art. All right, cool. When you're 40, you start to kind of like, I'm like, wait, what?
When I'm old?
40? Come on. They're like, dude, you should be dead by now. But no, like, I was very thankful to get a lot of opportunities through gig posters and bands, and a lot of bands were super cool and supportive. And as a fanboy, whatever, able to do visual artwork for the audio artwork that you love and like means so much. Like music is the special place in my soul. Like, I would have loved musicians, but I can't keep time. I'm tone deaf, like I'm only like, I have one hand I can work with. Like I do anything with that, it's not going to happen. There'll be no fretboarding or anything, there'll be no. Yeah, but I always loved music and grew up around music. And I think my mom and my parents and stuff for that, like my uncles, like they had a good taste in music and like I remember going to somebody and showing my artwork, and they're like, "You can make a living selling posters? Yeah, good luck with that." And I'm like, "What an asshole!" And that place has since like crashed and burned. And I felt bad. And I thought that was a big deal back in the day. But if you get time, like gig posters are actually a bit easier to get into these days. There's lots of people that do them. Like if you go look up who's doing a lot of the posters tours, it's easy to get information. You can submit artwork, and if somebody says no, it either just means you're not ready yet, or the world isn't ready for you yet. So just keep doing your thing, and if that's what gives you happiness in life, I'm all for it. Like keep trying, and and even if you don't get where you think you're, like I'm still not where like the path is so misconstrued from where I thought like an art path should be. Like how one thing led to another, or getting to do something. It's like wait, you think I'm right at Albuquerque instead of a left? What? I had no idea. Like, and so there's no way to this. You want to be this type of artist, and maybe someone else has got better information than I do. But if you want to get better as an artist, dude, God, if there would have been YouTube, it would have saved me so many hours.
I know.
What? That's how you draw hands? Really? You're bringing down the conical figures? Like, come on, like spent years doing it the hard way, but you learn persistence, and you learn how to do what you do.
Yeah.
And and the thing is, artists, we all look up to other artists, so like, okay, I want to draw like this person, or I want to draw like that person. And it takes a while to find your own voice though, too.
Yeah.
And, you'll find your style when you get there. You might combine, Rossetto with, microhand or like Da Vinci, or you might get into like, Gustav Klimt, whatever. There's so much rich art history to look at, whatever. And so many great masters to learn from. And then you'll learn a thing or two about your own way of working. And eventually you'll develop, your style and your voice in art. So patience.
Sound advice.
Which I should take it, because patience isn't my strong suit. Yeah.
Well, sounds great, man. And I think definitely have won over all the Cure fans here, and we all wish you the best, and hopefully we can get you in on some more Cure art in the upcoming years.
Oh man, well, as a Cure fan, I appreciate that, and like it'd be a pleasure to do anything else with those guys. I mean, they've been giving us this great gift of music for so long, and it'd be nice to contribute in some small way. So
cool deal.
But
yeah, where's the best place where people can check out your art that you would like to direct them and follow your happenings?
I am a horrible web designer, so my website is probably like got cobwebs on it, but I'm on Instagram. I think that's easy for me to update on. So so Vance Kelly on Instagram.
Okay, yeah, some really cool stuff on there. I love the Star Wars stuff. I'm a big Star Wars nerd, so I was like, "Whoa, crap, what is this?"
Yeah, right. Dude, oh man, that was awesome. Like one of the galleries I get to work with, they're like, "I'm like, what license do you have?" And they're like, "You have a Star Wars license?" Like, yeah. I'm like, all right, sweet. And man, like, I'm like, they're like, so you're gonna do Rise of Skywalker, or what you gonna do? Like, I'm like, the first trilogy first. You know, that's where I love it.
Yeah.
But dude, we get all the Star Wars things these days. Like, I was kind of happy and sad when Disney got Star Wars. Like, now they got so much energy and life they can put into it. And dude, Andor.
Yeah.
Oh man, so far that's been my favorite of the bunch. Like the series, man, that's just been so heavy and like, Skarsgård, and I think for some reason in Hollywood, if you don't have a Skarsgård, you can't make a film. You have to have a Skarsgård. There's got to be a Skarsgård in there. I think there's like 20 of them. So, well, it's been a pleasure talking to you guys. I'm sorry. Well, I was apologizing earlier. Like, I tend not to, you know, I'm in the studio a lot, so I have to talk out, you know, people outside of the studio. Like, ooh, you know, like a ramble. So
awesome. We love the ramblings. So it's all awesome. Yeah. Thank you so much for making the time and going over all this with us. And yeah, really can't thank you enough, man. And great job.
Dude, absolutely.
It was a perfect way to start.
My pleasure, man.
Right on.
Yeah, thanks, Vance.
Cool. Yeah, and hopefully we'll be in touch and maybe see you at a Cure show out there somewhere. And
that would be amazing.
Cool. I'll send you any pictures when we go to the shows. If we see anyone wearing your shirt or anything like that, I'll let you know.
Or if you see a size small, you know, I'll Venmo you some money.
There you go. Yeah. Track it down for you. Cool deal. Well, all right. We'll let you go, man. Thanks again. Good luck with everything.
Well, thank you guys, man. It's such a pleasure to be on. So, you know, you guys have a great evening, and hopefully talk to you soon.
Sounds good. We'll talk to you later.
All right.
Signing off.
Have a good night.
Talk hard.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
All right, again, special thanks to Vance Kelly. Go check out his amazing art on Instagram at Vance_Kelly and his webpage at vancekelly.com. And go shopping over there on the official Cure page at cure.com. You can buy his lovely New Orleans design as a poster or a t-shirt or a trading card with the set list on the back. Last time I checked over there, everything was still available minus the first run of the posters. So slight variation, but looks just as gorgeous. And also a giant thank you to Kate for helping out and providing that much needed women's perspective and additional artistic perspective to this conversation. Always a pleasure having Kate on. And of course, you should check out her site, curethreads.com, where you can purchase not only prints of her lovely original Cure-inspired artwork as well, but also those designs on a wide range of products. Everything from t-shirts to flip-flops, the tapestries that's all over there at curethreads.com. And also be sure to check out Kate's Instagram page, Cure Arts Collab, where you can still get in on the action and doing a Simon and Reeves birthday tribute. The deadline has been extended to May 31st. Just contribute a portrait of Simon or Reeves or both of them together and contact Kate for details on how it'll all be unveiled this round. Kate, of course, is a cherished member of our Holy Hour Patreon team. These guys and gals have provided so much support to the show and are making it possible for me to see and report back to you guys multiple shows on this tour, so I am forever grateful. Go to patreon.com/The Holy Hour Podcast if you want to also contribute and be a part of our loyal crew, much like Donna and Craig, Jeff Hilton, Jeff Cortland Jones, Sue, Ben, John, Allison, Alan, Dione, Namicio, Matt, Danny, Coulter, Matt Ford, Tom Johnson, Letty, Tom Burns, John Roberts, Francisco, Jason, and our newest member, Craig Bellinger. Welcome, Craig. Scott Kruger is also one of our nearest and dearest. He's part of the Sarlacc Digest, an all Star Wars podcast, and you can catch their live show every Wednesday, 8 p.m. Pacific time on YouTube, or catch the replays everywhere you listen to podcasts. Each week they bring you quality theory crafting and provide a safe place to unpack all your nerdiest of nerdy Star Wars thoughts for the week. Scott just saw The Cure Night 3 in LA. I'm hoping to talk with him soon and recap all that for you guys next round and see how it all went down. Also check out his Songs of a Lost World t-shirt design he made. It's available at tpublic.com. Just go over there and then the search Cure Songs of a Lost World. It should pop up and it's awesome. You should buy it. Tim is a wonderful supporter of the show as well and part of New Waterloo, a company who owns and operates 3 super rad hotels, one of which is on South Congress. It is called South Congress Hotel in Austin, Texas. Another is Waymore's Guest House in Nashville, Tennessee. and the Albert in Fredericksburg, Texas, which is slated to open in August of this year, all of which look like the perfect spot to chill while continuing your summer adventures. Dana knows all about the life of an artist. She's a motion designer and animator. Check out her work at graphics.tv. That's graphics with an X.tv. There you can see her motion graphics reel and get a sampling of some of her amazing work. And you can also reach out to her there if you are in need of an animator or motion designer to promote your business or project. That's graphics.tv. And if you find yourself up in Canada, Lisa recommends checking out Dickens. It's only the coolest venue in Calgary, hands down. At dickensyyc.com, you can find out about all the upcoming shows and events that they are hosting, including lots of cool trivia nights and themed dance parties. And you can also follow them on Twitch at dickensyyc for all live streaming action. Our trusty co-host Chaz can be found on Instagram at 17_seconds. He also has Cure-related shirts posted on 17secondshirts.bigcartel.com, so keep an eye on those to pre-order new designs when they pop up. And check out his other podcast, too, the X Communication Station. They just recently had their 100th episode, so congrats to them and look forward to 100 more. Subscribe to this podcast on Apple, Spotify, YouTube, or anywhere you listen to podcasts, and follow us on Instagram at The Holy Hour Podcast. Like our Facebook page and contribute in the threads there for each episode, or just feel free to email me at gavinconnor@gmail.com if you have any questions or concerns, that is. Otherwise, that's it for now. We've got 3 nights of LA to review up next. Sounds like everything was a huge success out there for The Cure and for Andy's pre-show party meetups. We got to hear all about those. And go blast some Cure. Make some lasting art. It's the only way to be immortal, man. All right. Thanks again, Vance. Thanks again, Kate. Thanks again to you guys for listening. Talk to you soon. Talk hard.